What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Thrive by Nutrition podcast. This is your host, Joey Gass here, future registered dietitian. So excited to bring to you guys the very first episode of this podcast. I have big things in mind for this, but I wanted to go over a little bit what I'm going to talk about in this first episode. So first, kind of my story, how I grew up, where I grew up, what kind of food environment I grew up in, my struggles throughout college, pushing through my comfort zones, and how I've been able to become this nutrition coach and how nutrition kind of became my life and my passion. So without further ado, here's the first episode, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's start from the beginning. So I'm from Sandusky, Ohio. A lot of you guys probably already know this if you follow me on social media and if you grew up with me in that area. But I went to high school, Perkins High School, graduated in 2012. I grew up in a pretty poor food environment. Not poor as in where we didn't have a lot of money for food, like we always had enough money for food, but poor as in I never grew up around healthy food like a lot of people did. Eating healthy was something that I never experienced as a kid, really. Fruits and vegetables were something that I probably rarely consumed compared to a lot of other people, especially people who are in my field. And I was always resorting to kind of junk food. I remember specifically on like multiple occasions, I would like constantly eat, and I would switch from something very salty and something very sweet, and just switch back and forth, over and over and over. Things like brownies, then I'd go to like potato chips, and then ice cream, and then popcorn. And I remember so many times I ate so much where I just overloaded my stomach and I would end up throwing up. And it wasn't like I was forcing myself to throw up. I just literally ate that much food where I couldn't help it. Most people in my family struggled with chronic disease, things like heart disease, hypertension, diabetes. It was just something that was just very common in my life to see. And I always just felt like that was just something that just happened to most people, that it was normal to experience those things as you got older. And they were just kind of inevitable no matter what you did to try to prevent that from happening. I always struggled with body image issues, I guess. I think a lot of people struggle with this, and a lot of people deal with these kind of issues growing up and even now. And I would be lying or if I said like now I don't struggle with these issues, but it was always something I was kind of self-conscious about growing up. I always wanted to kind of leave my shirt on when I was going swimming, even as a kid and things like that. I would always just be self-conscious because I just never felt skinny, and I would kind of look at like these skinnier kids and envy them and wish that like I could be skinny. So like those eating habits that I had obviously led to me being a little overweight as a kid. I feel like it didn't really show as much until maybe third or fourth grade-ish. But I always still felt kind of self-conscious about it. And then actually I went on my first, I guess you could call it, diet around like sixth grade-ish. So I think I remember being in fifth grade. So what is that, about 10 or 11 years old, and I think I weighed like 120 or something, and I just I wanted to be skinnier. So I remember making just like very small choices. Like I think I would just have more sandwiches with like bread and bologna instead of having more like fried foods. And then I also just I tried to include more fruit in my diet, but I mean, that was a long time ago. That was sixth grade. And I didn't lose a whole lot of weight, but I did like grow during that period, and I didn't gain any weight. So I actually slimmed down quite a bit in that like year or two going into seventh grade. And then that's when I kind of got into watching WWE around that time, and I fell in love with watching WWE, and I like really looked up to those superstars, those WWE superstars, and I like wanted to be as big as them. They just had this kind of like larger than life feel to them, where they could kind of take on anything, and I just really fell in love with that. So I remember getting like my first dumbbell set around seventh grade-ish and working out in the morning sometimes before I went into school. And then I remember there were some times too where I would ask my mom to make me like egg whites and chicken or something like that for breakfast on a few days, just because I was trying to build muscle like these guys. So I always kind of like, even though I grew up in this kind of unhealthy food environment, I always kind of gravitated towards, lifting, physique stuff, improving your body, and trying to be a little healthier. I just was never in the actual like good environment that really pushed me to, I guess, adopt those behaviors for good. Um, and then going into high school, I struggled with seeing the results I wanted, struggled with feeling self conscious about my weight as well. I was never like super big in high school, I feel like, where you looked at me and you thought, like, oh my gosh, this guy needs to start exercising or whatever. But I was never, I was never like lean or skinny or jacked or anything like that either. I was always like in between, like kind of like chubby ish, self conscious about the body fat I was holding. And a lot of my genetics plays a role in that too, as far as like just where I hold my body fat. I hold so much body fat, or most of my body fat, in like my midsection area, as opposed to like my arms, my legs. Like I really don't hold a lot of body fat there. So that's kind of the area where most people are the most self conscious about, is their midsection. So the fact that I just kind of genetically hold more of my body fat there doesn't help in that regards. But um, yeah, throughout high school, I struggled too. I was still lifting, but I wasn't lifting the way I really should have. I didn't really lift legs because I didn't really have access to the gym mostly through high school. I just had those dumbbells, and then I had like a little pull-up bar. So a lot of the workouts I was doing, they weren't super heavy. And like I said, I wasn't doing any really leg workouts other than cardio for my legs, which wasn't really helping actually grow my legs. And then all throughout high school, my freshman, no, actually eighth grade, I started working at Wendy's. My sister worked there, and that was one of the reasons why I started working there. And all from eighth grade up until the end of high school, and a little bit past that, I worked at Wendy's, obviously a fast food place. So in the summer, 5 days out of the week, I was eating fast food probably, because it's just so hard when you're just always around it, smelling it, and you go on break and you're hungry, or you get off work after a long day and you're hungry and you don't feel like making anything or waiting to go home before you eat, and it's so easy to just go ahead and buy a combo meal or something. And then when you're super hungry like that, you're less likely to choose the things like a salad or things like that that are going to be a little healthier for you and aren't going to be as calorically dense. So, that was a struggle too. And there were times where I did try to order the healthier things, like a grilled chicken sandwich and a baked potato, or maybe I did order a salad with grilled chicken. But majority of the time, I was ordering the burger and fries, fried chicken and fries, things like that. And it was just like eating that so often, it's so hard to see results, and it's not really good for your health in the long term either. So that was a struggle I had all throughout high school too. Similar to like my at home situation, I just was not exposed to a healthier environment. And when you're not exposed to a healthier environment for so long, it's so easy to just put on weight and keep that weight on and then put on even more. And you don't end up really, like, it becomes normal to you, and you don't really end up realizing just how good you can feel by making healthier choices. Um, so then throughout high school, I didn't really know what in the world I wanted to do with my life. I knew I wanted to help people. That was just something that I really liked to do, but I literally had no idea. And I almost didn't go to college. It was just something that we never really talked about in my family, honestly, because we just didn't really grow up with a whole lot of money. And it was something where I was always kind of under the impression that it just wouldn't be possible to send me to college because we didn't have money for it. But luckily, one of my guidance counselors came up to me, I think like junior year, maybe the end of my junior year of high school, and just kind of talked to me about, what my plans were, and, if I ever considered college. And she basically kind of, I guess, not pushed me to go to college, but she just told me about like the potential that she thought I had, and that I should consider it, and I really thank her for that because I don't know where I would be if I didn't end up going. Like, you don't need college to be successful, but it does, one, open a lot of doors, and two, pushes you out of your comfort zone, which is something I want to talk about later on in this podcast. But those two things are just huge. Opportunity and then just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone are huge if you want to be successful. So, long story short, I ended up going to college. And then first year of college, you get a meal plan and you go to these dining halls with, you can choose any food you want at these dining halls that they're making, obviously. And I went back to getting burgers and french fries like almost every single time, maybe pizza and fries if I wanted to switch it up. So I was not even making healthy choices once I left to go to college my first year. And I know a lot of people talk about struggling with this, like the freshman 15, they call it. I'm not sure exactly how much I weighed. I gained in. I probably was close to 15 pounds, but um, towards like the endish of my freshman year of college, I just kind of it's kind of weird. Like I said, I was always into lifting, always into kind of eating healthy. I just wasn't in an environment where it enabled me to really succeed, and I just kind of woke up and realized like I'm going down this path that so many people in my family are going down on with like chronic disease and um, all of these things. And I realized like I just wasn't on the outside. I wasn't the person who I felt I was on the inside. Like my interests were lifting and eating healthy, but I was not eating healthy and I wasn't a very healthy person. So like there was just kind of like this disconnect that I realized, and I realized I needed to make a change if I wanted to be the person who I felt I was inside and that I wanted to be. Um, so then I just started making very small changes to my diet, like very minimal. Instead of getting like fries, I would get like a baked potato or maybe corn or something like that as a side. And then instead of getting a hamburger, I would get like a turkey burger. And maybe instead of getting pizza, I would get more like pasta, something like that. Just very small choices. And I would make like a small change every few weeks or something. And then I was also working my ass off in the gym or with my workouts. I was working out twice a day on most days, which I definitely don't recommend now. Looking back, I was working out way too much and I was doing way too much cardio for like somebody who wanted to, look big and have bigger muscles. I was doing insanity like twice a day, multiple occasions. I was doing it like in my dorm room. I was doing it upstairs in the like laundry room of my dorm, and people would walk up there and look at me and probably think I'm really weird for doing that up there. Um, but like my training was not optimal for building a physique, but I burned a lot of calories because I was working out so much, and then also I was cutting calories by the changes I was making. Um, and I ended up losing, I think in the next like 9 months, I ended up losing about 40-ish pounds. So I lost a lot of weight and I got what you would, probably call skinny. And I still was not happy with the way I looked because like I said, I was not tracking any of my food, which I don't think you need to track any of your food, but I definitely don't think I was eating enough protein, and I probably wasn't even eating enough calories in general. I was probably losing weight like pretty fast, and then like I said, I was doing so much cardio, um, the combination of those three is just going to lead you to losing a lot of muscle mass, and when you lose weight that fast and lose a lot of muscle mass, um, your physique just doesn't look as good because even though you're losing body fat, you just don't look as lean as what you would think because your muscle mass percentage went down so much. So I think I went from like 195 ish to about I think the lowest I got was like 156 ish. So I got pretty low, and then I just kind of started researching a lot more online about how to build muscle because that was something I was really interested in, and this was around like my sophomore ish year of college, and I started following a lot of YouTubers honestly, and that's when I kind of learned about macros. I know some of the YouTubers that I was following were like the Online Coach was one of the very first ones. He was the one that I really followed a lot more consistently in the beginning. And then I think Christian Guzman got kind of bigger around that time too. But really, it was the online coach and um, just him talking about macros, and I would follow him. I would do some of his programs, and um, I started actually counting my own macros, and I started changing my training to where I was doing mostly lifting and very minimal cardio. I was doing more of the compound lifts. Like before, when I would lift legs, I would just go in and do like leg extensions, maybe the leg press. Um, but now I was going in, I was doing squats, deadlifts, and then for like chest, I was doing bench press, barbell shoulder press, just more of your barbell weight exercises, and then dumbbell and pretty minimal machines, except for maybe at the very end of my workout. So changed my training, changed my nutrition to count my macros and calories, and I saw way better results. Like I was building muscle, I was getting stronger, and I just started to really fall in love with this whole entire process and fell in love with nutrition and how it can affect your performance and then also your body composition by just manipulating little variables like how many calories, how many carbs you're having, how many grams of protein, things like that. It just like, man, something just clicked and I just couldn't stop looking up this information because I just love to learn about it. Um, and then by that time, I was still currently at the University of Toledo getting my bachelor's in psychology. And my interest in psychology was really like I wanted to learn why people made certain food choices. So it was still like revolving around food. But then as I, started to go through these transformations, started learning more about nutrition, I got a lot more interested in how those food choices affected your body, and actual science behind like what happens when you eat this and digest this, etc. So then I was like, well, crap, I'm almost done with this degree and I don't want to really do anything with it. And then I just started looking up things and I found the career choice of a registered dietitian. And I was like, wow, this sounds like exactly like what I would like to do. And I actually ended up finding a program at Ohio University where I could complete my master's in food and nutrition while at the same time completing my undergraduate course requirements in order to get an internship. So if you don't already know, in order to be a registered dietitian, you have to have a bachelor's or a master's in a dietetics degree, basically. And that dietetics degree has to include a long list of courses that the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics sets out for you. And then once you complete those courses and have your degree, then you can apply for an internship, and then you complete an internship for about a year, and then you can go on and take the RD exam and become an RD. So it's a pretty long process, and I don't think a lot of people don't realize how much more effort it is to become a registered dietitian or an RD as opposed to just being a certified nutritionist. Like there are so many nutritionist courses out there where you can literally just take a course for maybe 3 to 4 weeks at the most, and you're a certified nutritionist from whatever agency or what accrediting place it is. But with like a registered dietitian, you need to have in-depth classes with like anatomy, biology, biochemistry, organic chemistry, all of the chemistries, all these hard sciences. And then you have to take like nutrition counseling classes, medical nutrition therapy, all of this stuff where if you're just getting a nutrition certification as a nutritionist, a lot of the programs, you don't have to do any of this. That's why it's really clear to make sure, like, if you are asking people for advice, especially if you're paying them, to figure out what kind of credentials they have. Like, I'm not saying you necessarily have to have an RD credential to be a good nutrition coach. Definitely not saying that, but if you find somebody who is an RD, there's a huge chance they're probably going to be a lot more educated than somebody who is not an RD and just has a nutrition certification. But anyway, that was kind of like a side rant. But I found this program, and it was really the only program I could find where I could get my master's and do all those courses at the same time, which was really perfect because, I don't know, I didn't really want to go back and get another bachelor's degree. Like, it just seemed, I don't know, in my mind, it made it seem like those entire 4 years at Toledo were a waste then if I just went and got another bachelor's. When me getting another master's, even though it's getting me to the same place, it just feels like the bachelor's degree that I got in psychology was like worth something because I needed that to get the master's when like I wouldn't need that degree to get the bachelor's, if that makes sense. So it was perfect. And also, it really worked out too because my fiance actually got into med school at Ohio University. So we were able to actually go there together for the first 2 years. This past year, she's been doing her rotations in Akron. Um, but it was just, I don't know, it was like it was meant to be. Like, this was the one program where I could do my master's and get those courses in. Um, and it just happened to be the place that she got into med school too. So I definitely think that was meant to be. And, that's why I got to where I was, I guess. But man, these past 3 years they've been tough. Just because like I was doing all my graduate assistant duties where I was kind of teaching a lab, and then like grading papers and everything like that. And then I also had such a big course load because I was taking my master's courses or my graduate courses at the same time I was trying to make up all of these undergraduate courses. So I was taking almost 20 credit hours a semester. Um, it was just a huge load, and I was still always trying to be active on social media too, because one of the things that I'm extremely passionate about is just putting out information out there. I think one of the biggest reasons why I've seen the progress that I have seen is because I've been able to learn. I've found the right information out there that's actually true, and I've implemented that information, and that's what's gotten me my results. And like I said, something that I'm super passionate about is putting that information out there, putting the good information out there as much as possible to try to drown out all the bullshit that's out there about nutrition, because there's so much BS out there. Things about detoxes, things about not eating carbs past 5 p.m., things about the ketogenic diet, things about intermittent fasting, and like, for one, detoxes are completely unnecessary. All the other things that I mentioned, like, they can give you results, but people tell you that they're getting you results for the wrong reasons that they actually are. So I just try to put out the right information out there to try to drown out all of that misinformation, because I was the person in high school trying all of these things that weren't true. I spent $70 on a fat burner because I thought it was going to get me results, and it didn't. It got me literally nowhere. And like I remember like 2 or 3 months later after I finished the bottle or the 2 bottles I bought, whatever it was, and I was literally the same exact body composition, the same exact weight, because I just didn't know. I didn't have the right information. I thought I could just take a fat burner. I had no concept of like calories in, calories out. And I thought the fat burner was just going to melt the fat away because it was called a fat burner. And completely not the case. So, I hope to be able to save people a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of frustration by actually putting out good quality information out there. So that's kind of like, I don't know, my passion is doing that. And that's something that I think I'm going to do forever. I can't see myself not putting that information out there because, in my opinion, it made a huge impact on my own health and my own results. So then I was doing that. I was putting out information. I tried a YouTube channel out, and it was really awkward. I'm terrible at public speaking. At least I was. I still don't think I'm very great at it, but I've definitely gotten better. But it was just, oh gosh, those videos are so cringeworthy if I look back at them now. But I was just trying to use that platform to try to put out more information. But one, it was really hard because, for one, I did not feel comfortable filming myself in public. So I was only filming myself talking in my apartment. Two, I was awkward, like I said. And three, my life really wasn't that exciting. Like, I was just going to school, going to class, studying, working out. Like, that was pretty much it. So that kind of failed. But I was still putting out information on like Instagram and things. And then somebody actually reached out to me towards I think it was the end of my first year of grad school, maybe it was the beginning of my second year, and she kind of asked if I would be able to help her with her nutrition. She wanted to lose weight, and she was just struggling. And this was the very first person that I ever had pay me for any kind of service. And yeah, after I took her on, I was working with her, and like we were doing check-ins every week and stuff like that. I was really kind of learning like I wasn't learning the science really on the fly, but I was learning how to actually just like coach someone on the fly. And my prices reflected that. Like my prices were very low at that time, and they still kind of are low now, but working on that. But um, like it was so I don't know. It was so I don't know, liberating. It was so fun. It was just felt so good to be able to help people and give somebody the right recommendations and have them see results and feel a lot better, perform a lot better, and actually like see some weight come off that they wanted and do it in a healthy way, not some BS unhealthy, detox, lose 10 pounds in a week, things like that. Like it was slow, steady, like it should be, sustainable, and it just like made me realize like, man, this is something that like I want to keep doing. Like I wasn't doing it for the money because like I said, I was barely charging anything. So it wasn't about the money at all. It was just being able to help somebody who was in that position that I was in high school or even the beginning my freshman year of college, helping someone in that same position, knowing their struggles, knowing their frustrations, and being able to, give them that information, save them time, save them frustration, and it was just, I realized this is what I wanted to do. This is what I was meant to do, and now here I am today. I'm 3 weeks away from graduating, starting my dietetic internship in the fall. Super excited about that. This is my 7th year of college. So 7th year of sitting in classes in college. And I'm so ready to just go and, get my feet wet, get my hands dirty, get in there and just do more hands-on work. And then I'm a little over away from being an RD, a registered dietitian, as long as everything goes as planned. And, these past 3 years being in this program here they've just pushed me out of my comfort zone so much. And even these past 7 years being in college, like my family never went to college, like I said. I didn't grow up eating healthy. I struggled with confidence, struggled with public speaking, and these are like all of the things that I'm doing now. Like everything that I'm doing right now is literally the complete opposite of how I grew up, really. And it just all comes down to just pushing myself out of my comfort zone. Like, and it has not been easy, and it's still not easy now. I struggle so much with this, but I realized like my life improved so much once I started getting scared. When I was scared and anxious all the time, my life would always improve because that meant I was doing something that was out of my comfort zone. And then once I did it, and I realized like, wow, I can do this, or maybe I failed and I just learned something from it, something I could take away. And it always started off as something that made me anxious and I was fearful of it, and then I did it, and then afterwards I was fine. I was still alive. I was actually taking something away from it, something that I learned, or I succeeded, and I was like, wow, like I can do this. Like this is one more thing that I'm confident in myself I can do. And yeah, that's just kind of what these past 3 years have been like. And my undergrad, we had like one formal presentation, and like going into grad school, that's like all we had in our graduate classes was just presentation after presentation. You don't really have very many exams, at least in our program. In our actual graduate courses, they're mostly just presentations. So that was something that scared the living crap out of me because I just like lacked confidence. I wasn't confident in my speaking skills and wasn't confident in just like what I knew. So I really think, being active on social media like I have been, doing live videos on Facebook, even the YouTube channel, even though it was, super awkward. And then those presentations that I did throughout grad school, they have helped me so much to just get comfortable talking, get comfortable in my own skin, get confident in myself, and improve my speaking. And um, yeah, like it's just all comes down to pushing those barriers and always trying to do more. Never get complacent, never get comfortable, because once you get comfortable, you're not going to make any more progress. You have to, whether it's in things like this where you want to improve your public speaking, like you're never going to improve your public speaking unless you get uncomfortable and keep doing it. That's the only way to get better at it. And then when it comes to, if you have like fitness goals or like performance goals, let's say, like you're never going to get stronger unless you end up lifting more weight than what you did before. So you end up getting uncomfortable in that way. You're not going to build muscle unless you get a little uncomfortable and eat a little more than maybe you want to some days, because you need those extra calories to put on the muscle. You're never going to get leaner and lose your body fat unless you get a little uncomfortable and become a little hungry sometimes. Like it's going to happen. If you want to change, if you want to be something different, you have to do something that you haven't done, which is not your comfort zone. So I just want to stress that. And nutrition is absolutely my life, and I cannot imagine doing anything else in my life than spreading this information and coaching people like I have been these past 3 years to improve their lives. Like my business is still very small compared to what I want it to be, but it's grown so much in these past like 1 to 2 years, and I've absolutely realized like I can make an impact by the information I give them, by the guidance I give them, and if I can just change, just one person's life, if I can make them healthier or help them live a healthier lifestyle and realize that they can do it and they can sustain it and they avoid a lot of those issues like heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, and they improve the quality of life, then it's 100% worth it. But yeah, I just wanted to make this first podcast to kind of go over, I guess, a little bit more of my story, my background, how I came about doing what I do. Super excited to get into more episodes, more sciencey episodes. Hopefully I can get some guests on here too. That's something that I really want to start. But I want to turn this podcast into something big that can reach a lot of people. So if you guys like this first episode, if you guys want to see more episodes, please share this, maybe screenshot you listening to this, share it on your social media. Anything you can do to kind of give it out there, maybe just tell a friend about it. Someone that really wants to improve their relationship with food, improve their performance, their body composition, improve their health. Anyone that could, find any kind of value in this, share it with them because, like I said, big things coming with this. I'm super confident in what's to come. And I'm just going to leave you guys there with the first episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one.